Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer. Welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I get to learn a little bit about somebody else's perspective on movies. And I have here one of my friends, John, who just might have one of the most unique and interesting taste in movies. So I'm very interesting to hear about all of his answers to these questions. But John, thank you so much for coming on.
Very glad to be here. Always glad to be talking with you, Shane.
And would you like to shamelessly plug anything before we get started?
I would just like to shamelessly plug two things. My Instagram page, which also features my letterbox as well. It
Yep.
is my name on here, John Bizub. I also do want to shamelessly plug a friend's short film. Currently, it's called Five Fingers of a Dog. It is a ode to the giallo horror
Ooh.
subgenre. They're currently in the Salem Film Festival right now, and they're couldn't be more proud of my friends who worked on it, but and as my friend is gearing up to make their next film. But please go watch it. It rules. It's very fun.
You said Five Fingers of a Dog.
Yeah, yeah,
Got to check it out. So there we
yeah.
go. We're getting all recommendations here. So exciting. But to get into our questions, I particularly enjoyed the second round because we got an interesting mix of specific things, but we always like to start off with these watch list questions. So, John, what's a previous film that's been released that you've never seen that you're most excited to check out?
So for to give viewers into perspective, I am studying abroad in Florence, Italy. So I'm kind of there's some movies that are not in English currently right
Mhm.
now, and they have limited screenings in English right now. So I missed Creed 3. I'm
Oh
dying
wow.
to see Creed 3.
Mhm.
I'm very excited for it. The only movie I saw here that was a recently released movie was Knock at the Cabin. I loved it.
Oh.
But Creed 3, but also Magic Mike. I am probably
Mhm.
Magic Mike Triple XL's biggest supporter, its biggest fan. If I were asked to be put on the Sight and Sound poll, Magic Mike Double XL would be on it. I love that movie. And hearing that Steven Soderbergh is back at the helm with
Mhm.
everyone involved, even Selma Hayek, I'm just very excited. I know it's on digital, but I'm still finding the right day to watch it.
Absolutely. And Creed 3 definitely didn't disappoint. And I feel like I probably liked Magic Mike's Last Dance more than most people did. So
Yeah.
hopefully you'll get a lot of fun out of it. Now, looking into the future, John, what's film that is coming out soon or in the future are you most looking forward to checking out?
I have three if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So if someone asked me my most anticipated movie of the year, I have like three because it's like three that could be like number one at any given moment.
Yep.
Um, One of them is Jane Schoenbrum's I Saw the TV Glow. I'm a huge fan of their previous film, We're All Going to the World's Fair. If you have not seen it,
Oh,
I
okay.
believe it's on HBO Max.
Yep.
But I Saw the TV Glow kind of continues that technology horror wavelength, but this one takes the role of two kids who watch a television series when they were children, but if they talk about it with people, they act like they're crazy. Like they act like they're like what show are you talking about? And it's like the connection between these two people who are like, I saw that show when I was a child too. And it got picked up by A24 quite recently, so that's fairly exciting for them. Very, very
Nice.
excited. Another one is Megalopolis by Francis Ford Coppola. Who knows if it comes out this year? Who really, really knows? I just I'm itching for anything from Francis Ford Coppola at this point. He seemingly cannot miss, in my mind at least.
Mhm.
Um, and I think my most anticipated, like just of the year that I know that's coming out this year, probably Barbie. I think I like Greta Gerwig fine. I wouldn't say that I'm a ride or die Greta Gerwig fan, but hearing that it's an ultra stylized Barbie movie about Barbies breaking out of their toy land and Will Ferrell is playing the head of Mattel, that just sounds like Speed Racer to like for modern generation, and that like sounds like it rules. So I'm very very excited to see it.
I'm also very, very excited for Barbie. That's going to be a
Yeah.
fun weekend. That and
Exactly. Yeah.
Oppenheimer on 7/21/23.
Yeah.
Which thanks Oppenheimer for burning that date in my brain for forever. Um,
Exactly.
I looks like there's a lot of problems going on with Megalopolis, but I hope they finish
Yeah.
it and hopefully
Yeah.
it comes out. And then you got me real excited for that other one because I didn't realize that was coming out. So,
Yeah.
and that's a nice range and of
Yeah.
films to check out this year. And there it's still exciting. There's plenty of interesting films to be coming out the rest of this
Of
year.
course. Of course. The year just
Now,
started, so there's many more to come.
yeah, we're coming up on wrapping up the first fourth of the year, and there's already been
I
some
know.
fun ones. So January wasn't a total train wreck, so that's interesting. Fortunately,
Shockingly.
legitimately shocking. Now, John, this is always a fun question because most people hate remakes. But if you could pick
Hmm.
one film that you wish would get remade, what would it be?
Oh wow. Wow. One film that could be remade. I think now I think the idea behind remakes are just okay. I don't have any
Mhm.
problems with them.
Yeah,
However, I think if there's one thing that could be a really fun thing to remake would be Misery, Rob Reiner's Misery. But
interesting.
if I were to put like a filmmaker attached to it, David Robert Mitchell, who did It Follows and Under the Silver Lake, I think he just tackles such a crazy and deranged story so
Mhm.
perfectly with also having like a control on it. And I think It Follows is such a sleeper hit, and I think he could do really well with like a fun ode to '80s horror with like like with a Misery remake. But there's like a lot that I would think of, but not on. But I think that one is the most pressing in my mind.
And it could be something interesting too, because like obviously it's about an author, but you could always like twist it into something where it's like it's a filmmaker and they killed off
Of
your favorite
course,
movie character and something like that. And
right.
there's room to play around with that. It's gonna be hard to beat Kathy Bates
Oh,
with that
of course.
performance. And also the way that Rob
Uh,
Reiner made me feel when I watched James Caan's leg shatter. I'm like,
exactly.
oh
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
Now, John, what's your fondest memory of going to the movies?
Oh, wow. I think for me, it just I come from a family where they actually don't like much movies at all.
Mhm,
And with the record, so I recommend them a lot of things that like, oh, you should
mhm.
really check out like The Fablemans or like Top Gun Maverick, and
Yeah.
like they're so like the one time they're like, you know what, let's listen, let's listen. So it was like a family outing. It was like fun, and we saw Top Gun Maverick, and I think it was like the one time where we all unanimously agreed that it was awesome, and I was just like, yeah, this is great. And then I think another fond memory was seeing Triple R with all my friends from home when we just got
Mhm,
home for college. My theater was like showing it for like one weird day.
mhm,
And like I was just like, you all like me and my friends were just like, you all have to see it. It's the craziest thing ever. So we all got
mhm.
tickets and we were like the only people there. And we were like we were in we were the only people in this IMAX theater. And we were like shouting. We were going crazy. It was like my friends watching the Super Bowl on the big screen, and it was so much fun. It was like electric. It was awesome.
One, I like being able to share a movie experience with your family is awesome. And I had a
Of
special
course.
experience with Top Gun for my bachelor party, with like nine of my friends and like my brother. That just that movie in a theater was so much fun. And
Oh,
the
for sure.
obviously most of the time it's awesome having a theater full of people, but sometimes there's that special moment where it's just you and your friends. Like I
Oh, for
saw
sure.
Moonfall in a 400 seat theater and there's literally five people in it and one of them was myself and two of my friends. the we were just like commentating the whole entire movie, and
Oh, for sure.
being able to have some fun with that's a good time. So I could definitely
Oh,
understand
absolutely.
that. Now, John, what's a film that really exceeded your expectations?
Really exceeded my expectations. I like. I don't even like. I really like it.
Hmm.
I wouldn't even say that I love it. I think it's a banger. It's nice. It's great. It's awesome. Don't breathe. The first one.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like I think like modern horror at that time was just not really doing it in terms of like
Hmm.
actually pushing the genre. It's not like I was not like not loving this things that A24 picked up and distributed. Like those are all fine
Yeah.
and well good. I'm more obsessed and like I'm very happy with where we live in an age of like Megan and like Knock the Cabin and Skinamarink doing consistently well, amazingly well. But I think in terms of like being a tight, contained thriller that actually affected me, Don't Breathe really is just like it's just a lot of fun. It's just even with how disturbing it is, it's still just like wow, that was great. That was really cool and really disgusting. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad it wasn't a mess.
Yeah, I don't think I had high expectations for that at all. And then the reviews started coming. I'm
Yeah,
like, what? And then I saw it, and where that movie went, did not expect. I'm just like,
yeah.
oh my. And then they made another one for
Yeah, where you have
some
to
reason.
sympathize with the killer who did some awful things in the first one, which I
Yeah,
don't
that was a
understand why.
felt like that was a bad look.
I didn't even see the second one. I don't really have plans on it because that just sounds awful as a story
Yeah.
concept, but whatever. I never heard much about it after the trailer, so it's all that it's come
I
to go.
saw it, I forgot about it, and I moved on
Yeah,
with my life.
exactly.
So there you go. Now,
Exactly.
John, I don't know if you're much of a reader, but I
Hmm.
do find it fun, like seeing where people could come up with an answer for this. But what's some
Of course.
written work that you would love to see turned into a film?
Because actually you're saying this because I actually saw like that you were doing like there like a book review, and so I was just like I should actually do some book reading myself. So I've just been like reading things like that. So um there's a book by Bret Easton Ellis called Glamorama, and I think it's like if people want to like a Safdie brothers type thing for a book, Glamorama by Bret Easton Ellis is just that. It's about it's really high end fashion designer, but also he's making this his own nightclub for the first time, and he has everyone on the press list. But then all of a sudden, something like shocking comes out about himself. Like, pictures get leaked, and it's just like a rat race trying to be like, you can't expose this. Like, and it's like a very seedy underbelly type book. It's that like a lot of like commentary on like celebrity culture
Hmm.
and just press in general. It's so fun. It's hilarious, but it's also just like really sick and gross. But I think with the right director, like the Safdies or like someone in the same vein of like Abel Ferrara, I think that could be really great. But yeah, that's I think out of like the books that I've read as of recent, I think that's the one that I could see turn definitely well. It reminds as much as I don't like the film, it reminds me in the same like in the comedy sense of like something like Triangle of Sadness or like a Ruben
Okay.
Östlund film like that. So
Interesting. I have added it to my list of books to get and
yeah,
check out.
of
So there
course,
you
of
go.
course.
That does sound like it would make an interesting film and can be something engaging and thrilling and cinematic. Now,
Right.
I know so many of us go to the movies now and sit there for 30 minutes of trailers before we even
Right,
get
of
to
course.
our actual movie. And I know I found myself avoiding a lot of trailers at this point and just trying to go into movies as blind as possible. But sometimes those trailers get you. Now,
Oh,
John,
for
what's your
sure.
favorite movie trailer?
Oh, favorite movie trailer ever? It's honestly such a toss-up. The first Alien trailer, like the
Mm,
original, it's like a basic answer as it is, it's the first Alien trailer. But I also, in terms of like recent movie trailers, something about the Uncut Gems trailer really like got me. I rewatched that so many
mhm,
times. But if like when so like you know every Halloween when I was growing up, I'd do like horror movie festivals with my
mhm,
friends, and we just watch like a bunch of horror movies. We show the trailers for them, like the original trailers. We look up on like 35 millimeter like YouTube trailers of what they would look like on 35 millimeter. They had it for original Alien, and it was just I know some of my friends who've never seen the original Alien, a lot of them actually, and it was
mhm.
just like seeing their faces watching that trailer. They were even scared by the trailer, and it was just great. It was just I truly love that. But I think out of like trailers that I go back to more often than I should, it's the Alien trailer is just edited
Mhm.
and that you don't even
Yep.
know what's going to be what it's about besides just if there's an alien on a ship, and that's really it. And I love that. And not only that, the movie's still amazing, so
Yeah.
remarkable even. So
And that's the thing. You don't need to know much else. It's like there's an alien, you're in
exactly,
space, and
exactly,
nobody can hear you scream.
exactly.
Which that alien trailer is so great they had to just keep ripping it off with other like
Oh,
the
for sure. Even Ridley
Prometheus
Scott did
trailer.
it with Prometheus. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, because I hadn't seen the original Alien trailer before seeing the Prometheus trailers, because those Prometheus trailers got me when they came out, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They just did the same trailer. It worked the first time, so they're like, well, do it again. So it makes a lot of sense.
Of course.
Now, shifting gears a little bit into a couple questions related to movies and music.
Right.
What's your favorite use of an actual song in a movie?
Oh, wow. So I listen to music a lot. I
Mhm,
think if there's one thing that I share my passion along with film, it's also music. Um, there was one I completely forgot what it was. I think it's the opening of the movie, and I think it's just it's a whole reality show. I actually have two. There's the first one that's a whole reality shift. That's the first scene of the movie. It's the Numb Encore remix from Michael Mann's Miami Vice. The first
mhm,
thing you see in the movie for the theatrical cut, and it's you wouldn't expect it. Like it's something you would not expect, and it's something
mhm.
so amazing to start it off with. I love it. Um, and then there's I don't know the actual title of the song, but "Hit Me Baby One More Time" by oh, "Hit Me Baby One More Time" by Britney Spears from Spring Breakers.
Okay,
So I think that is,
nice.
yeah, it's not only that it just turned 10 this year, but I think it's the way those girls just sing it is just so beautiful because it's just like they're gonna be going into fight Gucci Mane, rapper Gucci Mane, and they don't know if they're gonna make it out alive, and I think it's great.
Yeah, and those kinds of like songs from like late 90s, early 2000s certainly have made some impact. I laughed so hard watching Red Rocket with
Yeah,
Bye Bye Bye. Oh my God, I
yeah.
lost it in the theater. And then, Miami Vice the show was known for popularizing a lot of
Oh,
songs.
for sure. In the
And
Air
In the
Tonight by
Air
Phil
Tonight,
Collins.
though, Phil Collins was never as popular as he was when he was on Miami
Yeah.
Vice. And
Oh, for
then
sure.
maybe Tarzan, uh, who won
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
every
Tarzan's
award.
great. His music's great in
Um,
that movie.
Now, John, if you're gonna sit back, put on a score to listen to, what's that score gonna be?
It's easily my favorite score of all time. It's the movie that got me into movies actually. So it actually makes sense. But and not only that, I loved the people that did the score, and I
Mhm.
have it on vinyl. I owe my entire being to the score, not into this movie, but to the score in general. It's to Tron Legacy. and Daft Punk's amazing
Mm,
score. Like it's like as a Daft Punk fan, what more can you want? It's just them scoring a future sci-fi movie with like neon
yep.
motorcycles and like a story about old Jeff Bridges fighting like CGI like video game new Jeff Bridges, and it's
Just
so cool. It's awesome.
oh, and if that third Tron movie happens, they better like unbreak up and come back to
If they yeah,
do
I
the score for it.
like I don't care about who's directing. Gonna be honest, like I wish it was Joseph Kosinski, but I think that's
Mhm.
a reality that's just not gonna happen with the success of Maverick, which is okay. I'm glad with him doing other and better things, but if you don't have Daft Punk and if you just have like Lauren Balfe or like some other person do the score, then don't make it. Like you're not gonna find anyone to recapture what made the original score just so incredible.
Mhm.
But also, I do love the Lord of the Rings score. If I'm just sitting and doing homework, I love it. It's beautiful.
Howard Shore's work on that is just so dynamic. There's so
Oh,
much
for sure.
range in the music in Lord of the Rings, and like every piece of it's just absolutely perfect. Now, my last question for you, John. I love this
Mm.
question. What's one thing you wish movies would stop doing?
Oh, oh wow. All right. So I am so tired. I am so tired. And this is a common thing for Disney movies. This is
Mhm.
and it's gonna be starting common for everything. I feel like I'm preaching to a choir about this, but I think I'm the biggest uh advocate for it. I really don't like how they're just regurgitating old characters and bringing back new life into like characters. Like I think, well, there's some exceptions. In Top Gun Maverick, the scene where
Mhm.
with Tom Cruise coming back, that's perfectly acceptable. That is a perfectly
Yep.
fine decision. But like Spider-Man No Way Home did not like. There was a brief moment where I was like after Far From Home, I think it was,
Yeah.
um, where I was like, oh, so like Peter Parker actually has some stakes to him, great. And then I was like ready for a whole story about like him, like people finding out and all that. But and then I was just then they're like, oh, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were found on set of the new Spider-Man movie. I was just like, oh no, please don't do that. And then there's like also the Mandalorian with Luke Skywalker being CGI'd and everything. I'm
That
really
one was
tired.
weird for me.
Yeah, because it's just why I thought we were done with all of this. So
Well, be prepared because I'm pretty sure every single notable character from Clone Wars and Rebels is going to pop up
yeah,
in
yeah.
Favreau and Filoni's Star Wars universe they're doing.
That's why I
But
kind of tapped out of Star Wars for now because it's just like I love Clone Wars. I
mhm,
think Star Wars Clone Wars is a wonderful show. I've stopped watching The Mandalorian after season two, which they just started season three. But I haven't watched the Book of Boba Fett or like the other
mhm.
plethora of shows that they got because it's just like I don't really have time and I don't really want to watch something where I'm not fully invested. And I'm just not fully invested in Star Wars right now. I think the last or not the Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker really did it for me. And I was just like, I'm good. No more Star Wars for right now. I'm good.
That had the most egregious bringing back a character for no apparent reason. It's just
I
like
know.
somehow the Emperor was alive, and it's just like
Somehow Palpatine returned is still like when I heard that in the theater, I was cackling. I was like, somehow he returned.
it's just like you couldn't even come up with a good reason why.
Exactly.
And they're just like they just expect you to just accept it. That is the tricky thing of what they're calling legacy sequels
Yeah, exactly.
is bringing back characters for meaningful use.
Yeah,
And like Top Gun, that nailed it. Like I think Top Gun
yeah,
hit the
of course.
same nerve that Color of Money did, which
Right.
is funny because Tom Cruise is involved in both of them.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the idea of like Paul Newman came back to that character because that character had something new and interesting to
Oh,
do.
for sure.
and a new perspective. And I feel like they did a really good job with Top Gun Maverick of being like, okay, how's this man who through and through Maverick going to deal with being like, hey, you have to teach people now. And it's just like, we don't want you flying anymore. And that's something interesting. But, a lot of the times it's like, well, cheap pops. Let's throw these characters in. And yes, Disney will keep doing that for forever
Yeah.
and ever as long as they make
I
money.
think I think I think for me the thing of that, like, in terms of like legacy sequels, is that as long as you're saying something about like a certain actor or like like the property itself,
Hmm.
that's totally all well and good. Like if you ask me pre 2020 when the first trailer for Top Gun Maverick come out, I was like, this is gonna be the first movie ever to gross like $100. Like no one's gonna see this movie. No one will see this. And I was proven wrong. But the
Yeah.
way Top Gun Maverick was just not only about like just a nice chill laid back movie, but it was also just about the last remaining star that is Tom Cruise,
Yep.
and teaching like a newer group of people trying to be themselves. I think that easily is my favorite part of Maverick, but like among other things. But
Well, yeah, it even
um,
works on that meta level of like, he's
of
one of the
course, of
last
course,
true movie stars that
oh for
can get
sure,
people to show up to a theater.
yeah.
And boy, did he.
Steven Spielberg said it best. I forgot out of what award show, but it was
Yeah.
circling around. You saved Hollywood's ass, and you could say that to James Cameron, but Tom Cruise really, really did. As much as I love James Cameron, and yes, he did for sure, but Tom Cruise really set the path to like a really nice uh curve. So,
Yeah. Now, John, I always like to wrap up my Lost in the Wasteland show by letting my guest ask me a question. So, what would you
of
like to ask
course,
the Wasteland reviewer?
of course. What what is a movie that was kind of had such production issues, even like one of those canceled movies, like the infamous, George Miller Justice League movie,
Yep.
Tim Burton's Superman with Nick Cage. What is one of those that you would like that you wish came out and was like an actual existing property?
That's such an interesting question because,
I'm always fascinated with with the concept behind that. So
like, what could
I
have
always,
been?
yeah.
Because Stanley Kubrick wanted to do a Napoleon film.
Mm,
And I feel, especially with like Barry Lyndon
mm.
and how well he was able to capture that time period, I thought that would be fascinating.
Oh,
Now
for
it's
sure.
interesting that we're getting one from Ridley Scott coming out
Yeah.
with Joaquin Phoenix in it, but that's definitely one of them that stood out to me. And also, this might be a bit of a cheat because this movie did actually get made. I wanted Kubrick's artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what would that have been like, and how would it have been different than what Steven Spielberg made?
Yeah.
And I just feel like, Kubrick probably had tons of ideas and stuff like
Oh, for
that.
sure.
That, and realistically, he directed three movies in 2 decades,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that was his career at the end.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some of those projects that I think would have been really cool to see.
Yeah.
Um, One that you did bring
What?
up, I'm like, this 100% would have been like Mad Max Fury Road, but miraculously it actually got made because like George Miller has
Yeah.
bad luck
Oh, for sure.
for sure. I would have loved to see his Justice League movie though.
Me
That would
too. Me too.
that would have been something really cool and very different. I feel
Yeah,
like
for
it would have
sure.
been a very different experience.
You
But
mentioned Napoleon by Kubrick. It was actually mentioned because I was at the Berlin Film Festival that Steven
uh
Spielberg is doing a miniseries based around Kubrick's script, that like written script, that book script. So he's gonna do that for HBO. It's gonna be like a miniseries. I don't know if he's directing the full thing.
yeah,
I think he actually will be, but he's gearing up to start production on it. Like I think late this year, which is
that's
crazy because it
pretty
just
cool.
hit the Fablemans.
That's a very interesting it's very interesting timing. We're gonna get Ridley Scott's Napoleon and then Kubrick slash Spielberg
Yeah,
Napoleon
for
and just be
sure.
like, when was the last time we had a Napoleon? When did Napoleon pop up in a movie? And now we're getting two of them, mini series and a movie. So Good for that guy.
Exactly,
getting
exactly.
getting some exposure in 2023. But John, this was a lot of fun as always. Thank you so much for coming on
As always,
Wasteland.
thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely. And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.